It's all right. So, all right, so I started the recording a little bit late, so all that the viewers will have missed is the approval of the minutes and a brief discussion from the town board work regarding updating the solar siting law to incorporate some agricultural, basically photo agrivoltaics. Okay, which does bring us to this letter to the town board. So in terms of our work on the adult use law, we've sort of come to, we're gonna call it a crossroads because I see three possible roads forward. So more than a fork in the road or a fork with three tines. And so I did draft a note to the town board that you all have received. I didn't hear anything. So just at this point, I'm going to say, hey, is this fine for me to go ahead and send to the town board?
Yes.
Okay, so that will go forward. And again, just for the record, the basic three ways, and Michelle, you've seen this earlier, to go forward seem to be either to leave our law pretty much everything as it is, as we've got a adult use law that has fairly large buffer distances and a focused commercial district that's very small. And so sometimes it would be hard to see how to actually abide by the law and the commercial district at the same time. But by the time a use might come along, the district could have changed or other things could have changed to make that possible. So we could just leave things as they are, or potentially we could add other zoning districts that might be more easily able to meet the requirements of the adult law, or we could change the requirements of the adult law in terms of buffer distances to make it more easy to fit a use in the focused commercial district. So those are the options we're going to lay on the table for you guys. There's a bit of more detail on that, and we will await your word on direction.
Okay.
Which brings us to, so basically, we've been mulling over this adult use law for a while, and I'm kind of thinking I'm ready to try to lay some of it to rest. So tonight I would like to decide on the definitions to include. In terms of some other stuff regarding the law, there is a verbiage section that talks about a report to the town board 25 years ago, and studies that they had had seen from other places, upon which the town that town then based the law. That was the rationale for the law and the distances in the law. Guys has sort of suggested it's probably good to update that. That is 25 years old, I think, at this point now. It's from the late 90s. So far, our town clerk hasn't been able to unearth that report. So Jesse took a look and is, continuing to look here and there. Because I would love to see if we're even going to reference that at all. I would like to see it before we do that. And in terms of newer stuff, I did check the town of Ithaca's law is just as old. There's nothing new there. And as mentioned in the minutes, I did reach out to the New York Planning Federation. That was just near the tail end of last week. I haven't heard anything either because there's not enough time or it's gotten buried or whatever. So I will be following up with them, hoping that there'll be some recommended wording for, upon which to justify town action. It has to basically refer to, some sort of basis for saying, yeah, we need to keep a buffer distance. And some laws have it, most laws have it, and there's at least one law that Guy gave us that has a very extensive section of legal references. We may crib something from that if we don't find other stuff. All right. So that is one thing that has to get handled before we actually rewrite the law. We need something for that. The other main thing is the definitions that seem to, perhaps to be deficient or in need of updating. And so that's what we're going to go through tonight. The final thing had to do with the penalty piece. And I think with Guy's advice, we're kind of in tune there that the amount can probably be bumped up to the $1,000 we were thinking. And then the only decision we'll have to make is, should we consider each week or each day a violation? That's a detail I think we can handle later. But I think I'd like to deal with the definitions, and then we can sort of safely set this aside for a while and move on to other work. But we should get through this while we have it in mind. I sent out some definitions. Barb did. Thank you very much for your work on that, Barb. Send some stuff out today with some.
I only sent that to you.
To me. Okay, that's right. You didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Barb did give me a couple suggestions of things to modify. And so I'm going to actually pull the document up. And Barbara, is anything that looked like sort of a comment to yourself, I deleted,
Oh, okay.
but things that you highlighted or something, which may have been your favorite definition or other stuff, I've left in.
Okay.
And I think that might be the easiest, because that way, if you have wording you want to propose, it'll be right there and we can all see it. So let me try to share my screen.
Comment that in several of the definitions, I suggest adding in something that had been bothering me, and that was the idea of that images taken from the internet. And I had seen in a one of the like American legal language website that they use this phrase, computer or CD-ROM generated images, displays of adult-oriented images or performances derived or taken from the internet. So there's various places in here that we may want to insert that. So it's not just talking about like books, video cassettes, motion pictures, etc., but it's using more modern language that's including the internet.
Yeah, and I saw that in there, and okay, so that's great. I figured you would explain, and you just have, so
Yeah.
very good.
And that occurs in a variety of places, but I just wanted to point out that that was one of the major themes in my comments here.
All right. So, Michelle, can you read that?
Yeah, yep.
Are you seeing that? Okay. So, again, it's my general background. What I did in creating this document is if any of the four laws that I was sort of drawing on had something, I put it in here. And I'm not necessarily advocating that all these be in the final set of definitions, but the way we can go through it, I think, is to check. Check boxes off and say, yeah, we like that. We should put something like that in. We should put that in, or whatever. So the first one is adult arcade, which I guess is sort of like coin operated peep things. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I thought it would be useful to include that. Both the Plainfield and the Williamson texts are very similar to that website that was just at the top. So there were two websites that I looked at. One was American Legal Publishing, and then there was some other legal thing that is in a later comment. But both Plainfield and Williamson seem to mirror the language that was in that internet site resource. But I liked Williamson better. I found the writing more straightforward. So that's why I highlighted Williamson as something I like better of these four. But it did seem useful to include adult arcade in the list.
Okay. Any thoughts, comment, one or the other? I'm fine. I mean, I think it's potentially that the adult bookstore, which we'll get to in a second, which winds up being a very catch-all definition because you sell videos and things, you could conceivably incorporate this, but I'm also fine keeping it separate. And so we'll say that's in. That's fine. All right. So then indeed, adult bookstores. So indeed, I think this is a place where we need to do something, and I'm not sure the best way. One of the places must be Plainfield writes one definition, but really has three terms defined, either adult bookstore, adult novelty store, or adult video store, because it does get to be a little mushy. Places don't just sell books, right? They often sell books and videos and whatever. So do you call it like an adult material store and say that it could be, so I don't know. So maybe Barb, you had something down on this.
Well, if you scroll down farther, I had highlighted that I liked your possible combined definition. You'll find that highlighted in a moment.
Yeah, there we go.
Right there.
Yeah.
But I do, if you scroll a little farther, suggest that on
Right.
this one we add that language about the internet derived, so that highlighted yellow language would be new. From your
Right.
draft document.
And mine was sort of a merger of the Plainfield and the Williamson things, I think.
Right.
And so so you just add that.
Yeah, so I just added that phrase to your combined definition.
Yeah. And again, I don't know, is this reasonable to have the first line? Because again, the way this appears in the law is go under like adults, right? Is it going to be in alphabetical order? And then some places like in an adult video store, you can say see adult bookstore or something like that. But I think, so does this seem reasonable to write it like this?
Yeah, and that's just another theme that I had in my thinking and looking at this, that it seemed like there were places that we could streamline or reduce the repetition. Like later on, there's like what was it, like a mini theater
Yeah.
and a major theater or something.
Yes, and I'm with you there. I was going to say the same thing.
I like what you had done in the combined definition, because then that allows us to just have one, lengthy text under adult bookstore, but then later refer to adult novelty store, see adult bookstore, adult video store, see adult bookstore.
Okay.
So that was my thinking.
I'm definitely good with that because that was sort of the way I was leaning. Yeah, and then okay, so the other thing that I did do, and I'm sure you saw, so one thing Guy had cautioned about was trying to be somewhat careful about just saying, main or principal or without, because that can be a very subjective. And so one of the laws defined principal as 1/4 or more in one of these categories. And I just took that and thought that seemed reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so adult cabaret, we've got Caroline had one, not one, didn't have one in town, it had a definition. And so, yeah, so again, Williamson, so again, Plainfield is a bit more detail, and looks like that was the one you were favoring, Barb, so I see the highlighting there.
Favoring again with adding in after DVDs that language about internet stuff.
And yeah. So often the phrase commercial establishment is used, and some laws define that. I didn't feel that was necessarily necessary, but that's a question whether we need to define that term. Guy had warned against using the word public because that, if you have a private club, a dues-paying club, you might still not, you might still want to regulate that. So commercial establishments seemed a reasonably general, but also reasonably commonly understood term.
I'm fine with that. And, I mean, that could be a question for Guy after, we get through all of this, whether we need to add that as a definition. But again, my bent is to reduce the number of definitions rather than increase. But
I would tend to go with that, where again, I do understand sometimes things need to be carefully specified. And okay, so it looks like you are suggesting adding adult dancing establishment.
Yeah, well, that was a question for the group. That was something that was mentioned in these two other legal websites that I looked at about adult establishments. And so one of the things that we could do to reduce the number of definitions is later on, maybe after the drive-in or something, there's a definition for adult entertainment establishments or something like that. And so maybe it's just making sure that that definition includes dancing and includes anything else that we want to include in it. If we decide to try to streamline and call a lot of things adult entertainment, stick that on under it, make sure dancing is included. If not, maybe we need to have a separate dancing definition.
So I guess what I am wondering about is, in what way does an adult dancing establishment differ from an adult cabaret? Let's see, it says.
Well, Carolyn one says dancing, doesn't it?
May, but go-go dancers, without dancers, etc.
It does.
And I mean, this says just persons appear in a state of nudity or semi-nudity, which would cover the employees display or expose specified anatomical areas to others. What is different, I do admit, a cabaret means a nightclub, bar, juice bar, restaurant, bottle club, or similar commercial establishment. I don't know if that's somehow limiting
how about if under the Plainfield one, we just include, like we add into, so it's, under Plainfield and it says adult cabaret means a nightclub, bar, juice bar, restaurant, bottle club, dancing establishment, or similar commercial establishment.
Yes, I would be cool with that, because again, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. And now this we will. Arg. I hate when that panel appears. Okay, well, that's life. My fault. All right, so okay, so Caroline was the one place that had adult drive-in theater. And I think I'm going to agree with what it looks like. I don't know if that was my note or your note there. I guess I don't see the reason to separate an outdoor theater from a theater. If you've got a movie theater, that would tend to, I would think that would be covered.
Right, and later on, somewhere under adult theater, maybe. Yeah, I think under adult theater that I had added some notes on, that it says an enclosed building or a portion or part thereof, or an open air area. So that seemed to me like it would include drive-in if we adopt that approach, and then we can get rid of the drive-in.
Yeah,
We can get
the
rid of
adult
the
theater. Here we go, adult
the
theater.
motion, I mean, we can get rid of the motion picture theater, we can get rid of the small theater, the large theater. Just kind of try to combine all of that.
Okay, and this you did get off one of those sites too, or were this adult theater? Or was that just your brilliance?
Yeah, that, yes, that, let's see. Yeah, the adult theater,
Or an open area. Okay, right. I see. Isn't an
Yeah.
adult?
that language was from that website at the top of the document. So
Is
it's
it?
not necessarily that we want, that language exactly, but it was the
Right.
idea that, it's an example of just combining it all into
Right.
one thing.
So
Basically, it's taking anything that you're watching not live or through another medium and not physical.
Yeah.
Even an arcade would be in that. That's it there.
yeah, it is a so, and I isn't an adult motel appears in there. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, but and adult material would need to be defined. Is it, as showing specified anatomical areas or specified, sexual activities or something like that? Because
Right.
otherwise, adult material is
Yes.
too vague, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's put a note.
Yeah, and there's a definition of adult material in there as well.
Okay, somewhere again. Okay,
Uh,
probably up above. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you had that.
Adult theater could encompass a whole bunch of those. So we're thinking.
It could, yeah.
So I mean,
if you look at the definition of adult material, if you keep scrolling, I think you get.
it's got to be above there somewhere. Motel, it's got to be before motel. Adult entertainment, adult material.
So one of the things to do is to
Mhm.
kind of keep adult material in here. And then, as you're suggesting, use adult theater and put, arcade in there, put, dancing, put, inside a closed structure and open air, that kind of stuff.
Maybe. So what I was imagining we were sort of moving, and I know you define sort of adult entertainment and stuff in here too. And what some of these laws do is they define all these things: adult arcade, adult bookstore, adult video store, adult whatever. And then adult entertainment is, and then they just list everything they had defined. So the definition of the adult entertainment use is this set of things, and each of those terms has been defined. So the definition itself is fairly, and so what I'm wondering about is we're sort of getting nested definitions. Then, if we have, I mean, are you saying we would still have adult motion picture theater and adult theater, or are we going to subsume adult?
How many of them had multiple different adult theater definition?
Well, we go back up.
So motion picture theater, all four of them had a motion
Yes.
picture theater.
And then a couple of them had mini motion picture theater, which again, I saw, unless you're going to regulate them differently, I do not see the rationale for drawing a distinction.
Right. And like Caroline though, so Caroline had the motion picture theater and mini motion picture theater, but it didn't have adult theater.
Right.
Where Plainfield and Williamson did. So, again, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that kind of rearranging, looking at a document like this and skipping around. But I guess I'm just suggesting that, kind of a coherent philosophical approach to this is to reduce and condense the definitions as much as we can so that we're not just, repeating, like adult motion picture theater is A, B, C, and D, but it's motion pictures, and adult theater is A, B, C, and D, but it's live performances. And,
right. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you there. I agree. So let's go ahead.
I was thinking like in that one where it says adult theater, maybe I already said this further down, but it seems like in the Plainfield one, all you'd have to add is motion picture theater into that. Because it says already theater, concert hall, auditorium, similar commercial.
And let me see what we had for motion picture theater. Because you would probably want to add the, essentially what's here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, can we do that? So you could say essentially, you'd have to add, basically films, motion pictures, video cassettes, DVDs, computer or CD-ROM generated images, displays of adult-oriented images or performances derived taken from the internet. With that set of things would then get moved to the adult theater definition conceivably. So let me just try that and see.
I mean, they are different in their definitions. So.
Yeah. Okay, so right, so you get around it because there's adult, because what got weird in that one definition was it started talking about, then indeed in the movie theater definition, it started talking about the, that it was showing what you were essentially saying as adult material, and that would be the way. So we can just add, indeed, I think I don't need all that other part. It might work. Down to similar photographic representations. So it's possible if we took this and put that in and we're going to mention, or do we just define it as adult material? Yeah, this does get hard to do as a committee. So okay, so that resolving that, maybe I'll, do you have time the next month to try to merge the definitions? I don't know.
In the next month I do.
Yeah,
In the
no.
next few days.
No, I'm not expecting anyone to do anything between now and Christmas, basically, if your life is anything like mine. Because the way this is written, it is just refers to adult material, and then it says all these other things that show things are part of that. I'm wondering if we just could write a definition that yeah, somehow, like I say, streamlines it, includes that adult theater includes, motion picture theater without having to define motion picture theater separately, but by just taking
I mean, I
those things.
think it's possible to do. It
Yeah.
just takes some,
Right.
actually, getting away from, I mean, right now it's confusing to do this as
Yeah.
a document because there's 4 examples under each one but yes, I think it's possible to streamline it. So I mean, I'm happy to do that as a task for the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, great. So streamline and merge so that we have all the things that are kind of theater-y, which is included.
Yeah.
Let's go back up a bit. Right, so we were working on, got through the cabaret part, and we changed that. And then, right, so now this is, drive-in theater, all kind of stuff is going to be handled at some point. Right, so adult entertainment is where, again, that we have that, where I'm going is I would think that the adult entertainment would basically means any of the, and then a bunch of capitalized terms follow, which are all the things we've defined as adult things in this law. And that'd be where I would tend to go with the adult entertainment.
All the definitions to define adult entertainment.
Yes, yeah. And I do agree that an adult material definition might help streamline some things because you can just
does that mean in other definitions you can just say adult material?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking we could probably do. And again, what we would do, again, this is not consistent across jurisdictions, but Caroline typically has capitalized defined terms. So where it says here, just as an example, it would typically capitalize the specified sexual activities,
right?
Because those are defined terms within the law. Okay.
So I'll work on that.
Just the theater. Well, you can look at that. Sure, that'd be great. Adult theater and adult material. I think that's. And that might be simple because again, now what it typically says in each definition is, for the display of, specified anatomical areas and maybe, like I said, we can just replace that with adult material and that'll just be a little less of a mouthful. Okay, so adult motel was something that escaped notice in Caroline last time. And the key thing seems to be one, let's see, a place where you can go see all these things. One place had it, the Williamson had the factor about that you were renting a room for a short period of time, basically less than 10 hours. And I know that would be, a hookup place.
Yeah.
Worth including in our definition?
I suggested not. That's why I like the Plainfield one. One, because I can't justify less than 10 hours. I mean, why not, less than 20 minutes? I mean, I don't know. I just don't, I don't, I don't get the need to define a time. And so then I'm uncomfortable with including sleeping rooms. And it doesn't have to involve sleeping, as I've been told by other people.
Well, and not necessarily relevance here, but we're traveling to Africa, often your flight may be like late at night.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so at the end of
I've
a
stayed in
trip,
places
you do,
for less than 10 hours.
you get a day room as they
Yeah.
call it. So you can go and actually, clean up in the middle of your journey before you go home and everything. And so they just call them day rooms there. They didn't call them adult rooms.
No, I didn't like the room for a specified amount of time, but that's just me.
Okay. I'm fine with that as long as it really means that,
Wouldn't that be almost any hotel? That's the weird part.
yeah, so, I mean, it's because at least there are hotels where I've certainly seen it on the TV that there's the X-rated channel.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
we could call up like the Marriott and say, hey, you guys offered.
Adult.
And delete those phone calls as well.
yeah.
That's the only part, like, I've never heard of anything called adult.
That's a good, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Was that saying if a hotel was to say they wanted to build in Caroline and would they have to be under this law if they had X-rated movies there?
Yeah, so which is where you get into the principal business purpose or something. I mean,
Okay.
if you're really a giant hotel and one of your 100 stations is an X-rated station, I think basically fine, right? That's, for adults. I think what
stations would all.
I assume that what they're trying to avoid, keep out of a community or at least have be spaced out in the community is a motel where the primary purpose is to go there and either, shack up with somebody or, that's the 10-hour rule or watch, smut. So, I guess I have less issue with that. I also think less likely to occur than with, a place that has strippers.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's harder indeed to
Or
separate it out.
Or even a bookstore or a novelty store. That would probably be more likely than this.
But I think the point that was made is a good one, that basically any hotel does this if they offer, an X-rated channel or whatever. And this definition, at least, either Plainfield or Williamson, the two that have them, doesn't say anything about your point about the percent, percent of the business that is. But I mean, if a hotel is offering that in every room, you can't say that it's only, less than a quarter of their business. So I think we should not include it.
Yeah. And I would be okay with that. Not including adult hotel, because I'm going to argue the same thing about nude modeling studio when we get there, which I think is just too hard to draw the dividing line, in a way that, and I think that the harm that we're trying to avoid is relatively minor and relatively unlikely, and so why run that risk of, Okay. So all right, so we're going to X. I hope you're finding this fascinating, Michelle.
No, it is very interesting. I have a clarification that I need.
Yeah.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but the title of this law is the Adult Entertainment Law. Is that correct?
Well, it's strictly adult use law, and I'm just going to recommend that we change to something like adult entertainment use or something like that because of adult use being issue. But
yeah, because people have and I just looked up in the zoning law, and in the zoning law, it's referred to as the adult uses. I guess people have pointed out that adult uses can include using alcohol and cannabis.
Right.
And that's not what this law is about, right?
Agreed. And so I think that needs to be made clear. And that's why I think, and again, maybe adult entertainment use is not quite the right wording, but it's the closest I've come up with. But I think we need to do something like that.
then it
for
would have
exactly
to,
the reason you said.
it would have to be changed in the zoning law to reflect it, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, right now it refers to this law, and
Right.
yes, that would be, it would have to, um, it would have to go on the list of things to update the next time the zoning is worked on.
Okay.
And we would handle the adult theater stuff. And so again, I think adult video store, we would do the C adult bookstore sort of thing.
I mean, getting back to what you were just discussing, I mean, the motel thing, I mean, it seems like you have the right to do what you want in the privacy of your own, of a room that you're renting, or like, what's to say you don't bring in a computer and just watch X-rated channels on your own computer, or
Yeah, I think good point. I mean, again, I think what was trying to be avoided in those words was a motel specifically designed for, sleazy people to come and watch X-rated stuff. But
but does
I
that
just
even?
say, how do you draw that, and how do you present? You can bring your own laptop, like you said. So
Yeah, I think that's kind of a sticky area starting to get into banned books or something. Anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And actually, so I feel something about the escort. So it's already illegal to do prostitution. And so if there's an escort service providing companionship to go, whatever on the town, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I read this definition and, like, to me, there is nothing in this that is necessarily unseemly or adult entertainment. I mean, it's somebody who's, I mean, you could think of this as, the Finger Lakes, winery guides who are taking people out for a fee to do these things. So
It's almost like this definition is like purposely skirting around the definition.
yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of dropping it. Either that or making it much more, clarified that this pertains to adult entertainment as defined earlier. But I'm fine with deleting escort.
Yeah, I guess because I don't like how it's written here.
Yeah.
All right, let me think about that. So the possible thing is to say that for a fee, commission, salary, higher profit payment, or other consideration provides adult entertainment. Like that would be a stripper. Now, is it really bad if, like, bachelor party, someone wants to hire a stripper? I mean, would you ever know even, so I guess, I guess I'm going to tend to go still with getting rid of the escort definition.
Unless you've got like an escort business and you got a sign out front and people come in to hire escorts, that would be the only thing, but the escorts themselves wouldn't be there
Right.
anyway.
I guess if someone's they've got a catalog in their little shop, I don't see how that probably harms the neighborhood, which is, I think, really where this is at, which is
Right.
Drunken disorderly conduct, crime, whatever. So, all right, so escort we'll drop. Yeah. Probably should be putting X's on things we're deleting, but I haven't done that. So, all right. So, did I offer I combined on this one. Yeah.
With the massage
Right.
parlor. So one of the things I suggest if we keep this is to specifically add in Reiki, because Reiki is not a hands-on massage, but could be construed as being, questioned under this. So I don't know if there's any other kind of therapies that would fall into that, but I think we just need to be careful by, language that says what is allowed, that we don't then exclude other kinds of therapies that should be allowed as well.
And if we keep this, I don't really have a problem with including Reiki. It does say, or similar professional person licensed. So I don't know if they are licensed for one thing.
Reiki doesn't have to be licensed.
Okay. Okay. Okay, because again, I think a massage therapist probably typically is, though I will admit I have not
Yes,
checked that.
massage therapists are supposed to be licensed. Reiki therapists are not.
Okay,
Specifically, not needed to be licensed in New York State.
okay. So I would, if we didn't do it, I would suggest taking Reiki and putting it somewhere. It's because or similar professional person license makes it just appear to apply to Reiki.
Sure, yeah,
And so we'd have
Yeah,
to change that,
yeah.
like I put
just
it,
needs a person.
it would basically be by the state of New York or a Reiki therapist.
Right.
And then I wouldn't know were we then excluding, some other non-licensed business that is okay. I guess that can come out in public comment too.
Yeah.
There are things we don't know about. All right, so we'll just and final wording be worked out, something like that.
Mhm.
Okay, so now do we want it at all? Because they had a similar problem of, one thing, as I have said all along, the original Kellan definition said it had to be like, and several definitions say it has to be opposite sex massage. And I say, I'm sorry, that's a little too limiting these days, or even then it was. So, but then how do you start to draw the distinction between, something you want to maybe prohibit, which is basically people getting happy ending massages, perhaps, if you think that leads to a certain clientele and therefore, a negative impact from that, and a legitimate, massage people, which they're not all therapists, right? They're just people who give a massage.
Right.
And so part of how this tries to get at that was that it does say they're getting together for the purpose of engaging in specified sexual activities. And two persons appear nude or semi-nude. Now, I've gotten a massage. That means I was semi-nude.
There are, Rasa Spa offers couples massages where two people in the room are naked. So again, I'm more in favor of deleting this section.
And yeah, I'm potentially getting. I'm always struggling with how to draw a good line, and so I don't know if you have.
I don't know how you would. This is another one of those ones that how would you even regulate it? If someone opened a massage parlor, unless someone's complaining that they.
Right.
And like the Williamson one, the Williamson definition actually says sexual encounter center.
Yeah.
Right.
Which that seems to me that would be prostitution, which Guy has said is illegal anyway, right?
Well, of course, here it is physical contact in the form of wrestling or tumbling of the opposite sex. It's not really, and it's just opposite sex, which again, I think is kind of weird. But at any rate, you aren't necessarily having sex, you're just nude wrestling.
We can outlaw nude wrestling centers. I don't know. I'm not, I don't know. I think in this day and age, we just drop this one.
Okay, and I guess I'm willing to go along with that. I'll keep thinking because I cannot come up with a good way. And again, the question is, what are the harms? Is it really harm to the community if a place that even was offering nude wrestling opened up?
Coliseum.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
I think we're saying right now it's out, unless I hear other objection or if I wake up in the morning and feel very differently. But and again, I can say the same about nude model studio. I look these definitions and how do you? They talk about things being one of the Plainfield talks about being supported publicly, university or whatever. And if someone obviously is running an educational class as part of Cornell, they're going to be able to do this. If someone's they're an artist teaching sketching and they want to have a nude model, is that really a problem?
No, and so my comment on this, just I don't know if you kept that in here, maybe not, was to omit, or if the group decides to keep it, we, I think, would need to add in something about specified sexual activities, which is, defined later, but that's what's prohibited, not a nude model per se. I mean, if it's only a nude model, that's fine, again, for artistic or other reasons, but if it's engaging in specified sexual activities, that's what the problem is. But again, I'm comfortable with omitting this altogether.
And it seems to me that if specialized sexual activities are taking place, it's likely going to fall under the adult theater definition that you're going to so carefully write.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that would be the way to go about it, because I think, yes, what's is desired to be regulated is a place that's in business expressly for the purpose of people having sex or seeing people either have sex or seeing naked bodies for prurient interest. How do you pronounce that? At any rate, as opposed to some other reason.
This would fall under that principal, whatever that was, the principal staff, whatever their staff.
Yes. Yeah, I think, yeah, that would be.
Art and modeling studio would not have, that was the principal.
Right, right. So as long as adult theater includes that stuff, and whether it's a significant portion of the business, I think we're okay. So New Mountain Studio is also out. Okay. So, nudity are defined because they are occasionally referenced. I think what I did was took a reasonable definition and then included the breastfeeding of a baby as something that is not nudity.
Right.
Okay, so we're okay with that. And then, yeah, so then the specified anatomical areas and specified sexual activities will have to get defined, because then you probably reference them in the adult theater or adult activities sort of thing. Yeah, I think that you probably highlight the Orchard Park definition. Again, see, these are all fairly similar. I'm good with that one. Okay. And so you flagged something I did too, which is in this Plainfield and some of the definitions of our sexual activity, they have normal or perverted as a phrase, which I just find clunky and unnecessary and offensive. Yeah, so I am fine. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm fine with using this definition if we remove the normal or perverted. Yeah, it's a little bit judgmental, shall we say?
Yeah.
But this definition is a bit more complete than what Caroline had, and that's probably fine. For instance, we did not have excretory functions as part of any sexual activities. Which, I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and okay, yeah. So then the last issue I say is when we, and maybe once you've written the adult theater definition, it'll all become more clear that we define an adult entertainment as, adult theater, adult whatever, adult, and all these things, whatever has survived our list.
Yeah.
Because I did find it a little confusing sometimes when reading some of the laws as to what was definitely regulated or not. Like they defined escort service, but was that definitely something that they were not allowing? And so if we just say, yeah, when we say adult entertainment, and that's what we're regulating, this is all the things adult entertainment means, and just list all the different things that once the definitions are all done. All right, and then so the Caroline definition of adult use, now we're going to call it like adult entertainment or adult entertainment use, talks about the use of any land, structures, or location which is is restricted to minors, which indeed it could, I mean, I don't know, I guess someone underage can go into a bar, they just can't buy anything.
I don't think so. I don't think,
Yeah.
only if not, as far as I know, the only way I'm wondering to go into a bar is if it's not just solely a bar. Like if it's a restaurant as well.
Right, they car to the door. So I didn't, I was a little concerned about that aspect of the definition of adult use in the Caroline law, and I would suggest avoiding that unless there's a good reason to keep that part two in.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So, adult use can then be defined as a bar.
right, right. Which some people might want potentially this law to apply to, but I think we are looking at it specifically as applying to adult entertainment is that is involved with sexual gratification or whatever. So,
But I mean, technically speaking, a bar would have almost the same, would have pretty much the same restrictions right now as adult use.
I mean, there's no regulation there's no buffer that I know of. And I mean, again, I don't know what New York State laws there might be, but there's no local law that says anything about a bar. And there should be a bar right there in Caroline Center, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Brookton's Market sells alcohol. I mean, doesn't it?
Yeah, they wouldn't be, they aren't, as you said, they wouldn't be considered under this definition an adult use because they basically are a restaurant and grocery store that happens to sell some alcohol.
Yeah.
As opposed to a bar specifically.
So it's interesting, when I did a bunch of Googling of, definitions of adult use, I mean, every one of them referred to cannabis now.
Yeah, that's
When I thought when it was first mentioned and we were doing this, that's what I thought it was about. Until we got further.
That's what everybody thinks it is, even people
I
on
know.
the board.
so that's why, yeah, I think I was grabbing towards the word adult entertainment use.
Yeah.
Because that tells you, I mean, I guess you could consider cannabis entertainment, but
And there's like separate, cannabis is allowed in different places than,
Yes.
and say adult use is. So
right.
that's why it's confusing. We have to.
Yeah. So
I think probably the biggest difference between alcohol, cannabis, and this is that the state doesn't regulate adult entertainment very much, does it?
I do not know for sure, but not but I know. I mean, they clearly regulate. I mean, there's laws on about alcohol consumption that are
And cannabis, but
yeah,
it seems like the state wants to say we don't have anything to do with this, and then it's the local towns that have to really push this one.
All right. So yeah, so things are a little muddier than I wish they were at this point because we need to figure out a way to write the definition, streamline that. But again, my hope at the end would be to have a set of definitions that define each of these business type things reasonably well, and says that our adult entertainment use is a place where any of these things is taking place, and that's what this law is regulating. And then there'll be the section that justifies that we can do that. And then there'll be the section that says what the regulations are. And at this point, Michelle, that will depend on the town board to some extent, whether the numbers stay what they are or not. The buffer distances. So I think a good question was discussed today then, and then that may be where we've got enough. What the Caroline law does not do, and some of these laws do, is specify a separation distance between two adult entertainment establishments. So would we like to consider that? The rationale I think we discussed on day one was if you have a whole cluster of these, that's kind of what they call the Skid Row effect. And then you have, even greater chance of crime or issues or low property values or whatever. So that's a question, whether we feel the need to, or if we would find it's fine, because we don't think there'll ever be more than 2 or 3s in Carolina anyway, and maybe fine if they were next door to each other, and maybe even better. So that is the question, and I don't have any thoughts beyond that?
Well, we're still keeping this in the commercial district, or the, the town is, based on zoning. I don't see the need to put into this that, two can't be next to each other. So that might be a note for the town board's future, that if you change the zoning districts that this is allowed in, then that might be an issue to take up in this law. But right now, I don't know that we have enough basis on which to make a decision about that.
Adam, any thoughts on you?
Sounds, yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so, good, we made some progress. Some decisions were made. I will send that letter to the town board and they'll discuss it at their next convenience. And we will, at our next meeting, talk specifically about the sort of the adult theater issue. And I'll generate a specific list of the definitions we decided on. And then we probably will take up something new. It will either be the mobile home law, or perhaps the solar law, or there's the flood zone law. So any of those, but it's time to start, I think, incorporating some of that into our work. Because again, until we hear back from the town board, which may be a while, we don't know which way to go in this. Right? So as for our next meeting, that will be in January. The anomaly, we were meeting like fourth Thursday, Wednesday of the month. And we've never held it, so I can't remember. I think it must have been the Wednesday. It seems to work better maybe in the middle of the month. I know we have to avoid town board meetings, etc. But in January, what would work for a meeting? And then maybe in January, you can try to set a regular schedule for the year.
I'm out of town the entire week of January 12th.
Okay.
If that matters. And I am out of town, let's see, again, starting the 30th.
Okay, so let me go into January. Okay, so you said you're gone
I'm gone the
12th,
week of the 12th, so the
12th to the 18th, and then again, you're gone
and then I'm
the
gone the 30th, which is a Thursday.
30th,
30th
okay.
and 31st.
Okay, well, that's it. Okay. And do you have any particular travel plans or anything?
So like if we looked at the week, what would that be?
We had to look.
Essentially the third week, the week of
Yes.
the 19th to 20th. My schedule.
Okay, I have a commitment that Wednesday.
Oh, that's what we would, Wednesday,
That would be yeah, it's probably where we're supposed to be. Yeah, that's right. It always seems to be, I don't.
22nd or anything?
Yeah, so I can't do the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, I have show tickets.
Yeah.
And Adam's Family at the Clemens Center in Elmira.
Can you do the 21st?
I think I
Or their
could.
town meeting?
Yeah, so that's, we gotta take a look. Can someone check the town calendar?
Um,
I'm gonna stop sharing this, then I can actually. Has everyone got another town calendar yet?
I'm checking on my phone. Let's see.
Okay. Check for review board too, which is having more meetings these days.
Oh,
Thanks to the,
yeah.
yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah, because I'm not, maybe I'm connected to the internet here. Let me see if I can. No, she's there. I just opened up. I'm gonna go. See if I can get to the town calendar. So okay, so there we go. And let's go meetings. Oh, it's probably town board. I need the calendar. Oh, there we go. Okay, so pardon? Yeah, the 7th, 9th, and there's gotta be more. Oh, there we go. Yeah. I'm still learning the new town website.
14th, 15th, 22nd.
Okay, and that was us, which we're gonna slide, because I can't do that. So that would be the 21st.
Would do this one.
Okay, all right. So, Michelle, that work for you, the 21st?
Yeah. As far as I
Okay,
know.
that's what we'll do.
Do you want to check
Okay.
it with, or you don't want to just set it?
I think we're just gonna set it, 7:30 PM. We got at least 3 of us, so hopefully Will can make it.
Okay.
And if necessary, we'll do another.
So usual time, so.
Yeah, 7:30.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. I think that's it, unless somebody else has a topic they want to bring up. All right, great. Everyone have a good holiday.
Okay.
Enjoy some time with family, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully more snow.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see. It was kind of nice to have some for a while. I've
See
got
you.
these beaver ponds, and it's really nice when the beavers get frozen in. Unfortunately, they are thawed again. All right, that's I got.